Homeowners across the country are experiencing problems with gas grills every single day, and it's not due to a faulty regulator or a grill that needs to be replaced. They fire them up and they're experiencing what is called a low flame condition, meaning they can only get about 200 to 300 degrees. And worse, it's happening below the grate, so you don't even know what's going on until your food doesn't cook. But now with just one simple change on the same grill, same regulator and propane tank, it's firing up perfectly, delivering maximum heat that'll get me to over 500 degrees. The number one reason people think their grill is failing is due to a faulty propane regulator. Now it is true that these do sometimes fail, but it is surprisingly rare. Now I will show you when and why you need to replace one of these towards the end of the video. The number one reason by a long shot that you're getting that low flame condition or lower temperatures on your grill than you expect is due to a safety device inside that regulator. Now the regulator isn't faulty. You can buy a new one and it won't make any difference. It's because you need to learn a simple trick to make sure that that regulator safety device is not being tripped. You should be aware that there are two different kinds of propane tanks. The one with the handle on the left, kind of a star pattern, and then the one on the right that's a triangle. The triangle version is the newer version of a propane tank that is the only legal tank you can own today. Places won't even fill those older styles, and unfortunately, of course, the new version is the one that has this built-in safety device. Don't try any of these tests, but it's important to understand exactly what is happening. I'm opening up the valve on the propane tank and you can hear it flowing, but then there's a click. That click is the safety device stopping the flow of propane, but take a look. There is still propane coming out of that line, but it's not the full amount of propane. This is the low flow propane condition that gives you those low temps on your grill. And oftentimes it's just random. It might happen one time, not the other, so it is confusing to understand why your grill is inconsistent. The reason that safety device exists is to protect you in case that line was cut, allowing a lot of propane to just flow out. The safety valve would trip and it would at least reduce the flow. But unfortunately, just simply opening the tank too quickly can also trip that safety device. People think their regulator or their grill has failed and they try to go out and replace it, but the condition can happen even on a brand new grill. You need to open that valve on your propane tank extremely slowly when it first turns. Simply crack it open about a ½ inch to an inch, and then once it's started, you can rotate the valve quickly the remainder of the way. It's also very important to always have those burner valves in the off position when you're opening your gas valve. Now with the lid up, go ahead and turn your burner valves to the start or the on position and fire up your grill. This flame is looking perfect, but there's still a problem. What if you've gone ahead and started your grill and it didn't work? Well, you've got to reset that stuck regulator. Now there are a couple of ways of doing it. Again, always keep the lid up, close your burner valves, and also close the valve to your tank. Once you do this, modern regulators will actually self-reset after about 30 seconds. But if you don't want to wait, just simply turn that nut on your regulator enough to let the little bit of gas out, wait around 15 seconds, and now begin again. Always crack that valve very slowly at the beginning, kind of like you're handling a bomb. Once you get past that first inch or two, go ahead and spin that thing as fast as you want, and your grill will light up properly every single time. But if you want to be a grilling master, you've got to be prepared for the worst, and that is when you have a brand new tank on propane that won't actually let any gas out. This typically happens on a really hot day and a tank that might be slightly overfilled. It trips a float inside the tank, locking that propane in. But fortunately, there is a very simple fix. So for safety, remove that tank from the grill. You'll want to have it in an open area. Certainly don't be smoking or doing anything with any type of sparks. We need to release just a little bit of propane to reduce the pressure on that valve. But there's a problem. If you turn that silver valve, no propane will come out unless a regulator is connected. But fortunately, they built in this release valve that you can do manually. That's that small slotted screw. You can simply turn just a little bit and you will immediately see the flow of some propane. Now you're bypassing that safety system and letting a little bit of propane out. So I'd let it run for about 15 to 30 seconds, and then you should be able to connect it back up to your grill and fire things up normally. Now I know many of you are going to tell me that you replaced your regulator and it solved your problem. Now regulators do fail, but unfortunately most people are wasting money replacing them for no real reason. The symptoms of a bad regulator are the following: either no flow at all from your gas grill, a warbly flame, or flames that are going up and down. Here you're looking at a really good flame, it's strong and it's constant. Here's that same grill with a bad regulator. It's kind of starting and stopping and it's making all sorts of weird noises. If you've got a good tank of propane, very likely this could be a bad regulator. Keep in mind when regulators fail, it is typically giving you an inconsistent flame. Putting one of these in is pretty easy, but most people make another common mistake that can actually ruin their grill completely. Always begin, of course, by shutting your gas grill off, disconnecting all the lines along with the regulator, and of course you will need a replacement regulator. You'll have to check online the model of your grill. Oftentimes if you've got something like a Weber, you can buy a new regulator direct from them. Now under the grill, this can be a little bit scary, but it is in fact just a union where the gas line from the regulator and the grill are connected. Now many people here just grab one wrench and begin turning that nut, but if you do that, you will actually break the fitting or bend your grill. Instead, you've got to use two wrenches. The first one goes on the part of the fitting just above the regulator's nut. Do not put the wrench above where my wrench is in this video. That is the line for the grill. You don't want that to move at all. With my wrench with the red handle being held firmly, I can use the blue wrench to loosen the fitting on the regulator. Once it's loose, you can unthread that nut, and you'll notice there are no sealants anywhere on this thing. You don't put Teflon tape, no pipe dope. On almost every regulator I've ever seen, they simply thread using these flared connections, which are just metal to metal. So don't go ahead and add anything else unless your directions say otherwise. Now thread on the new regulator by hand. Don't use a wrench at this point because you could cross-thread it. Once it's snug, go ahead and reverse the process. You'll want to snug this up very tight. Now in just about 5 minutes, you've got your regulator replaced. You can reinstall your propane tank and connect it up. It is also a good idea to do a soak test where you can basically check for leaks. Once everything is connected, you can slowly open that propane tank, and then you're going to want to spray that fitting with some kind of soapy water. If you see any kind of hissing or bubbles in the soap foaming up, that means you have a leak and you need to redo it, and at the very least, disconnect your propane tank until you can figure it out. Once it's done, do that slow open the valve process, and now you should get a good flame every single time. Generally, you're going to find the bad opening of that propane tank is the #1 reason that people are getting poor performance on their gas grills today. And I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the Silver Symbol channel for more videos coming up.